Town Board of Commissioners meeting is now accepted. Please rise.
Okay.
Eternal Father, I pray that you will give every leader strength so they do not grow weary in their leadership role. Father, the task may seem overwhelming and exhausting, but I pray that every leader will recognize that they are assigned to do your will. Therefore, I know that at the right time, they will reap the harvest if they do not give up, Lord. I pray for divine strength for every leader and that they will not rely on themselves, but on you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Please face the flag. Captain Mathis, would you please lead us in the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance. Thank you. Please be seated. Ms. Litt, are they additions or deletions to the agenda, please?
There are, the first addition is under new business. We would like to label it R, a personnel matter. We would like to add a revision of the town clerk job description. The second recommended revision is under awards and recognition. We need to swear in, Meredith Detch as the interim town clerk. The third addition, we'd like to amend item K to read, to present proposed budget and call for a public hearing on FY 23-24. And the fourth addition is under new business. We'd like to label it S, a recommendation from the planning board to appoint Darn Harwell as the in-town planning board new member. If you all I'm sorry, we would like to make a recommendation for the planning board, that for John Harwell to be the new in-town planning board member.
You need a vote from the board on that tonight? It would be nice. Okay. Yeah. Good man. Good man.
I think it'd be an excellent job.
Yeah,
It'd be an
thank you.
excellent job.
We'll discuss when we get all set.
Yes, sir.
I need a motion to approve the amended agenda, please. So moved. Thank you, Mr. Church. A second, please. Second. Thank you, Mr. Parsons. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. And none opposed, motion carries. Push your left hand on the Bible and raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Meredith Detch,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and maintain
that I will support and maintain
the Constitution and laws of the United
the
States
Constitution and laws of the United States,
and the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
the Constitution and laws of North Carolina,
not inconsistent therewith,
not inconsistent therewith.
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties
I will faithfully discharge the duties of
of the office of town clerk
the office of town clerk
of the town of North Wilkesboro,
town of North Wilkesboro,
according to the best of my skills and ability.
according to the best of my skills and ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Thank you, Mrs. Detch. Did anyone sign up to speak tonight? Other than the Canvas line and Ann Wilkerson?
We have it, I believe, there with that.
Yeah, with them all, but
So, the first one is Susie Law with We Built and Michael Law with We Built.
Okay, stay with us, by Zoom or right here?
Wait, here.
Okay, yeah, okay, well, come on up. Usually we give folks, speak for 5 minutes, but there's how many, 3 of you?
Well, she's just gonna do the
I'm just gonna
introduction.
introduce and they will present.
10 minutes, okay? Can you make it work?
Yes.
Okay, ladies, please go ahead.
I'm Susie Lyle and my husband Michael is, he was born and raised in Wilkes County. And we're excited to be a part of a new project that we hope to bring to Wilkes County. And with that, I'll introduce Candace Lane and Ann Wilkins.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and town council members. Thanks so much for having us here
I'm
today.
sorry, I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry.
Any other speakers?
Thank you for having us here today. We appreciate you taking your time to hear us today. My name is Candace Lanning. I am a parent of a child who's 23 with cerebral palsy. And we're just here to share some information about We Built, my daughter. So right now, our families currently have 3 options of places where they can live. The greatest concern for parents and children with disabilities is where will they live when they're not able, when we're no longer able to care for them. So 3 of those options are group homes and institutions and or home with mom and dad. So 60% or more are living home with mom and dad. And out of that, those parents are over 60. There's a large percentage, 60 or more than 60% or more are over the age of 60. So Susie and I had the good fortune of meeting Ann Wilkinson. She's from Clackamas, Oregon, and she has a 4th option for us. I'm gonna let her talk a little bit about that we'd like to bring to Wilkes. And we're just gonna watch a little quick 5-minute video, I think, and then answer just a couple questions.
We can't see you.
Hi, I'm Ann Wilkinson. I'm the director of We Built Community and the president of Next Step Strategies. We Built is the first project of Next Step Strategies. And as a nonprofit, we look for some process that we could do that would help people live at the highest level of independence. Well, it was about 5 years ago, and my son, he just wasn't going to be able to live in the different kinds of settings that are traditional for people who experience a disability.
I was at the very first meetings with Ann, and we were all in special education, therapists, teachers, and assistants. We started to delve into what a potential ideal community might look like for Wally and others.
It just quickly became the story of no. It was just no at every direction. It was no from the bank. It was no from the state. It was, you can't have more than 4 people with a disability living in the same address. You can't do this, you can't do that. Every time we got a no, we also found somebody that could help us get to yes.
We've been a small residential builder for 20 years. And we developed a building process called collaborative building, where we actually involve our clients in the building process. When we listened to Ann's story about the vision, but also her frustrations with trying to get anything going, she had a specific vision for exactly how this would work as a community. And she was consistently frustrated that people just could not catch it and not listen. And that's how you got what we have right here today. It's because her vision. And we listen.
And that was the coolest part about it. We learned so many things. And what we originally laid out is nothing like what we have now. It's just, this is so much better than anything we ever dreamed would be the very best thing we could do.
Just really like it here. I really enjoy it here. Really great community. And everyone's got their own like little garden areas, decks, swing chairs, hammock chairs, you name it. It's just super cool here.
We've tried many different attempts and different solutions. What's different about this place is number one, the feel as you walk into this place. It has a better feel, more of a family type atmosphere. and a more collegiate type. It's less institutional. It's more like a place you want to be.
Everybody is allowed to sort of contribute to the development of the community and be a part of activities here. And that, you know, it's not only in the group activities that we participate in together, you know, for dinner and for playtime, but for also the construction and development of this community has been largely something that everybody has an opportunity to be a part of. So it's been a lot of fun for me.
Inside of my dad. For Valley Railroad Company, that is in Connecticut. I'm a former New Haven church.
A place to fit in, a place to be loved and be comfort and to do for yourself. And you see their confidence, their skills.
I'll never forget stepping into that little space and just being struck by the quality, the creativity, and the quiet. You know, this is an unmet need. In some ways it's hidden because, you know, a lot of times these kids, they age out of the school system and then they're dependent on family members and, you know, they kind of disappear. This is a unique approach to, you know, people experiencing intellectual developmental disabilities who are on the spectrum, who have, you know, sensory issues, and adults with a variety of needs. But she very much understood they could benefit from living in this kind of community setting.
You know, you look now and you think, wow, you know, we did that. You know, it really was the project of No that has become this project that I hope other people will use as a model for their programs.
A need that was so great, but no one seemed to identify or care about, or just assume that this is the way it's always going to be. And there's no way out of this trap for parents and autistic adults. It is their burden to the day they die. And that just seemed, once you hear that, this vision, it's like, yes, why would I not want to involve with something like this?
It's changing lives. It's 100% changing lives for the better in every way you can imagine.
So Susie and Candace found us on the internet and they flew out to see Next Step Strategies in Clackamas, Oregon, and they said, yes, this looks like exactly what would work for our children. And so they've been working sort of behind the scenes. I don't have any vested interest in this. We don't charge anything. I'm not a consultant. I'm just here to help. It's my own son was the reason we put the first one in place, and since it's become known around the country, other states all over are trying to replicate, and so we're just trying to help everybody. We just wanted to come today to tell you that we think it's going to be North Wilkesboro, where the land is going to be developed into this, and we know that there'll be lots of times that we're going to be coming to the county and asking you and telling you and helping us get it developed in a way that works for your community as well. And so we just wanted to give you a chance to see what it was, so that when you hear about it coming up, it won't be like this crazy thing from Oregon that doesn't make any sense here for North Carolina. And I can answer any questions that you might have.
So how large is your community in Clackamas?
We have just 1 acre. We developed this on 1 acre. We had no money. We just did it as we could get the money through our nonprofit, and we just developed a little bit at a time until we got it done. So we just had 1 acre. Our individual homes are about 650 square feet, but with the big ceiling height, they live like a house, and kids don't consider them an apartment. They really consider them their own house. And we have 26 members who are living on our site now. We built, because we were building our community to be as soundproof as possible, it also became super energy efficient, and we were able to get LEED Platinum certification for all of the buildings. We have are able to have 26 people live there. We have a chef, a community manager, a health and activities coordinators, and we're able to have those people live there for about $9,000 a month. So a considerable savings from trying to use Medicaid waiver funds to meet individual needs in every single house where they are. It makes more sense to come together. It's an integrated community, so we have people who live there that provide just natural supports that want to live there because it's a fun place to live, and are given some sensitivity training and are just a natural support to the people who live there. Additional supports are provided through our waiver service, specifically when there's a specific need. They need a ride to doctor's appointments or help with shopping or cleaning or self-care. They have their individual components, but my own son, before he lived there, the state paid about the government about $288,000 a year for his care. And he now needs about $40,000 a year to be able to live there for just his individual care. So it's a huge cost savings. It's a great new idea. It's not that we don't support group homes and other situations, but they're not for everybody. It just doesn't fit. There's about 100,000 adults that are 18 that have autism that are turning 18 and needing a different kind of housing every year for the next 8 years. So it's a huge next health crisis. I think there is a shrinking number of care providers, and it's a huge job. Even if you can provide the care yourself, but finding a care provider is a huge job for parents. And so to be able to live together in an integrated setting in a different kind of concept has been our data is just amazing. We have our initial group never was able to go to work, and half of our kids are now working out in the community. The other half are working at home and learning skills in order to be able to be competitive in the marketplace. So there's just a value that's beyond, I think, what you're gonna see until you get to see it.
Any other questions?
Do you have like a builder or developer already here in mind?
That's part of the reason why we're here today, is just we're hoping that you spread the word and share any contacts that you have with us so that we can start reaching out. And we do have land in mind that's over in the West Park area. So we have
Connected with the college.
Both App State has been a great supporter, their IDEX program, and Wilkesboro Community College.
I met a guy back in late February. I was in Wilmington. He was just sitting at the table beside me. I always talk to people. And he was telling me that he built houses, something like this for people, children. Or something.
That's why we're here.
Connection with the college also would give the college an opportunity to do some research. And so we could partner with them and get some hard data around teaching our kids to be more cognizant of their use of water and electricity to drive those costs down even further. Okay, thank you.
We'll look forward to watching your progress.
Thank you.
We have a very large, empty business section, as you can see from the packets, age through I. Does anyone have a desire to pull anything out? All right. Hearing no objections, I need a motion, please.
So moved.
Second. Thank you very much, Mr. I must everybody name. The reason is for the minutes. Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Thank you very much. We have the manager's report, Ms. Smith, please.
The first item on my manager's report is the don't blame people for not wanting to hang in there for this one. There's a lot, we got a lot on the agenda tonight. So, the first item on my manager's report is the raw water, RFQ response and staff recommendation. We advertised the request for qualifications on both March 9th and March 16th in the editions of the Wilkes Journal Patriot. We also emailed the advertising out to, numerous engineering firms. We received 3 responses to our request for qualifications. David Poor, our public utilities director, David Webb, our public works director, and myself, all reviewed these responses as well as yourselves. I know that you received them in an email form. The staff recommendation is to move forward with McGill and Associates, based on several points of reasoning. Their response, their statement of qualifications illustrated that they've worked on numerous raw water intake projects, pump stations and water line projects in the recent past. They've been incorporated since 1984. We feel like the size of their firm is appropriate for our team. They provided clear lines of communication. They feel like they had a process for the communication with regular meetings, routine communication, presentations, contact, and discovery. They provided multiple references. David Poor reached out to 4 of those references, and they received just awesome feedback. The statements were made like they're responsive, they're easy to work with. They had the same contact person throughout their project, even if it was a multi-year project. They would highly recommend using this firm. The McGill also recognizes the hurdles we're gonna face with this project. With any raw water intake, there are gonna be hurdles. It's not an easy path, I don't think, for any community. But we felt like their justifications and their declarations were authentic. They have facilitated the use of over 46 million in drinking water state revolving fund grants and loans. And which may or may not be necessary and useful. They have numerous clients that have also received ARPA funding, which our state appropriation is. So, which the reporting for ARPA funding is tricky, and we want to make sure that we have someone that's well qualified to address those needs. And staff also really favored the physical proximity of the McGill partners. Here with us tonight are James and Doug from McGill. If you all have any questions for them, I would welcome you to you feel free to ask me or them, as they are here to accommodate tonight.
Oh, haven't we used this firm before? I mean, I was gonna say, I was gonna prefer that to her. Haven't we used them before?
I think we have.
I think we have to.
I was gonna say, I'm not sure which projects you all worked on with us before in the recent past.
I'm Doug Chapman with McGill Associates. We did a small study at the water plant several years ago. We've done some streetscape work here at the corner and looked at things in other areas in downtown. Those are the things that I can think of in the last probably 5-10 years.
I'm there. I'm there. That's what he says. I'm there. Okay, anyone, have you any questions? We'll do that. Not today. So, if there's no further questions then, the town manager is asking the board to approve the selection of the McGill Associates for a water and tank project.
I'm gonna make a motion that we approve McGill and Associates to go forward with this project.
Be a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Parsons, Mr. Palmer, and Ms. Day. Do you need to discuss it further? Yes. Well, go ahead.
We're letting you, obviously, come on.
I mean, I came today, what all this information was available. It's always in the packet. I'm not arguing. Friday? Friday. Yeah.
But
Well, email. I do.
No.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago.
Well, you got it.
I mean, Bert, tell me what is your
I don't
reservation?
know. Just do it. I tell you what, I read. How many presentations were there? And they're down 3. I read them all. If you trust my judgment, they were my pick.
I read through it. That seemed like a good firm.
Yeah, and certainly with all the work we did here to get the money for this done, we wouldn't be derelict in the selection of an engineering firm.
And I like, cause they're out of West Jefferson.
Well, my biggest thing is that this whole project. And I may be wrong, but this whole project has some bit of time sensitivity to it. Because of it being ARPA funds. And I just hate to see something, if we're going to select an engineering firm. I just hate to see dragging our feet another meeting or two to basically end up making the same selection that we're going to do anyway. So that's my thing. This project is very, very important to this town. Water is an issue. Bert, you've been battling water for 20 years. And so, here's an opportunity for the town to solve a big issue that it's had as long as you've been on the board. So that's why I'm more proactive than cautious. So I'm just giving you my reasons.
Okay, we had a motion, had a second. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
None opposed. Motion carries. Thank you very much. You can say something, I'm just gonna move on.
Yeah, I was just gonna move on to the next.
Oh, yeah, you're up again.
Sorry, yeah. No, I just didn't wanna, I thought you were going to. The next item for my report is to present the proposed budget. You all should, in front of you, have a binder with a 92-page document in it. As you're all aware, this is not the first time you've seen this. We looked over it together at the budget workshop. I am presenting a balanced budget. The general fund totals $7,727,824, and the water sewer fund totals $3,038,805 in both revenue and expenditures for fiscal year 23-24. The budget levels are down about 19% from last year. That is indicative of ARPA funding and major capital expenses that we made last year, primarily the fire truck. They are up slightly from the year before, partly due to natural growth, inflation. I have proposed elective increases in employee compensation, departmental restructuring, and service quality changes. This is not to say that we're raising our tax rate, because I am recommending that we keep it at 52 cents per $100 of valuation. You'll notice in the presentation that it includes a 5% cost of living increase. I feel like this is necessary just to keep the competitive edge that you all provided the employees last year with the increase, with the rate of inflation. I think it's necessary. The general fund contains a handful of small changes. I feel like it's important for us to be conservative in the coming year because of the economy. Nobody can predict what's going to happen, and I think that we should walk lightly. Embedded in the government and in your budget you'll find $30,000 for a capital improvement plan and $5,000 to recommit to the pursuit of completing the vision set forth by the outdoor economy plan. The $30,000 for the capital improvement plan is in part to provide us with a study to know what we need to spend in the coming years, so that we have guide rails. Moreover, it will be helpful with applying for grants. We found that multiple grants, we lose points on the state and federal level if we don't have a CIP. Also, in the governing board's budget, you'll find $24,000 to contract a federal lobbyist. This would be in partnership with Wilkes County and the town of Wilkesboro. We intend to utilize this lobbyist to pursue the creation of the river district and development of our downtown. Other items, you'll notice there was a creation of a line item for the Wilkes Economic Development Corporation and an increase of $10,000 to total a $65,000 commitment to them for this fiscal year. At the budget workshop, there was a recommendation that we increase their funding due to they act as our economic development arm, and also to institutionalize them with a line item rather than requiring that they ask for funding on an annual basis as a nonprofit. I feel like this is important as well. Probably one of the biggest changes that you'll see in the budget is a restructuring of the Parks and Recreation Department and the Streets Department. Previously, the Green Thumb Division has been under the Streets Department. I feel strongly that in order to have greater oversight and to create a higher standard for our parks and our greens, it's important to provide the Green Thumb with a separate supervisor and an additional crew member, which also means also the Streets Department with an additional crew member. I think your priorities for this year reflect the fact that we need to heighten our standards for both greens and streets and sidewalks. And hopefully these increases in human resources will create just that. You'll also find an allocation for $10,000 for a Parks Master Plan. This is another point of issue when we're applying for state and federal grants. We lose points if we don't have this. And we all know that we're still working towards completing Smoot Park. Even though Meredith, Detch, and our team has fundraised over $1 million already for Smoot Park, we're still not finished. And we want to complete that project, and we want to complete it quickly. You'll also see an allocation for $20,000 for the transition to LED lighting or replacing light poles at Memorial Park. We have asked the county, we requested $25,000 from the county. We have an MOU on Memorial Park with the county, and we're hoping that they will help us start replacing those light poles with LEDs. Some of them are not in the best condition, and we want to head it off before they're too far gone. And another priority that you all have set, we want to bolster downtown events and downtown beautification. And in that regard, we have increased the facade grant budget to $525,000, which means there are now $40,000 in that line item. We're hoping that having more facade grant money will improve the appearance of our downtown community. And from the sounds of it, we have a lot of applicants that are excited about that. The water sewer fund has minimal changes. the board agreed to commit to a 2% increase for all customers. In FY 2021 for 5 increases. This is the 4th of those 5 increases. Regarding the water association, it's an increase of 5.5% to $2.50 per 1,000, is my recommendation. I have consulted, I think the increase is based on market indicators and consultation with neighboring water suppliers. This should maintain a competitive edge, but also hopefully increase our revenue for future projects, which we all know that we have some coming. We plan to also replace some equipment at the plants, at the raw water and the wastewater treatment plant. 5 hoists for the maintenance crew to improve safety measures they're using, things of that nature, pretty small purchases. Really the takeaways from this budget are, it is simply an operating budget. We didn't build in capital expenses. We do plan to make project ordinances as the year goes through. For some of the capital purchases, but we're just not ready to commit right this second. And I'm trying very hard to restructure the departments. When I arrived, 40% of our funding was in one department head's hands. And that means, in my mind, 40% of our human resources. And I'm trying to restructure the leadership so that each person has oversight over fewer people, so there's greater oversight across the board. And those are the highlights.
Thank you, Ms. Knight. Does anybody have any questions? What you want to discuss?
I have a comment you don't want to hear.
Ms. Knight, go on.
10 years ago, 12, however, some of you older people might remember, we had a 3-year increase in the water rate. I'm not fussing at Holly, I'm just making. And because of the water intake, we increased water rate for 3 years. Well, nothing ever happened with water intake. It was, so nobody paid any attention to the fact we put money into that fund. And now we're doing it for 5 years. Rate increase for the water intake. And I'm just saying, none of you were on board when it happened, I don't think.
I would.
Were you?
I would.
Am I crazy?
Yeah, you're right.
I'm crazy.
No, you're not.
But I mean, it's like, we need to remember what we've done in the past before we go flying into the future. And we need to make sure that this rate with the water increase doesn't happen again. And somebody say, oh, we gotta do it for the water intake. No, we've already done it. Now this is twice.
May I speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I was going to, go ahead, we had a meeting, go ahead.
So the raw water intake is only one of our water and sewer fund projects. We have the improvements out 115. We have, which are gonna cost, almost $400,000. We have failing infrastructure that needs to be replaced. Part of the CIP, part of the capital improvement plan that we're gonna embark on this year is to identify what needs to be done when and what we can pair. If we replace a section of 8th Street, if we have a water main break on 8th Street and we're already gonna be fixing the sidewalk, can we do those two things together so that we can identify cost saving measures?
I'm not fussing about it.
No.
I'm not fussing at you. I'm just saying, here we have it and here we have it again and.
Yeah, you're right. And, actually, we were at a meeting today with the other mayor and chairman of the county commissioners and all the managers were there. And they told us about their water rates and they went up. One reason to the price of the plants, plus labor, the chemicals, everything to do that. So, but we're not anticipating rate increases for the sake of raising because of a new water intake. So we are conscious of raising rates.
So these rate increases we voted on in 2020. Dell came to us and said, you need to raise the rates. And we were like, in the middle of the pandemic, you know, and he's like, you might could put it off a year because we had the active flow system, the water tank, now for the water intake.
Yeah.
So that was why we did it. And it doesn't have anything to do with the water intake.
This is the fourth of the fifth that the board agreed to do at that time.
Yeah.
Can I say something? Each year, the money that has not been spent in the water fund because of this rate increases and the savings in the departments has rolled over into the retained earnings. So that water fund has built up and where it's able to pay for the water tank and the other issues. It is not that they did the water increase and spent the money. So the money is still there. It's just each year in the audit, they'll tell you that this much money rolled over into retained earnings, which is, the water fund is like a business, so it would be like profit. So, and it's just sitting over here waiting for the, water intake or whatever, you know, the extra things that you're gonna be spending it on. So it's not being increased rates and spending the money.
Thanks, Mr. Wallace.
I will say that this board has done an excellent job of building our fund balance and keeping it healthy. So we would hope to continue to do so.
Any other questions or comments? It's been, hearing none, then, I'll need a motion.
I'd like to call for a public hearing on June 6, 2023 for the proposed FY 23-24 budget.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Have a second, please. Second. Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor? None opposed, one motion carries.
Couple of things in the manager's report.
Well, yeah, can I say one thing? And then I'll open it for emerging issues. Sorry. I wanted to thank, Finance Officer Connie August. She's a rock star. She makes this whole process a lot easier, and she definitely, without her, it would not have gone nearly as smoothly as it did, even though from our side, it might not have gone all that smooth. And also you all for your attention at the budget workshop and your guidance and your priority setting, which I feel like helped make this hopefully a good finished product that will help us in the year to come. And then now I'd like to open the floor for emerging issues.
Couple of things, Rick, that are on my plate. And first I'm gonna address it. If we have any updates as to what's happening for concerts on the deck being posted and who's going to the events going to be. And
I'm waiting on the final poster design.
okay.
So that's all I'm waiting on.
When is our first event on the deck?
June 17th.
And
It's cutting awful close.
You got it.
all right, so this, I had a couple people ask if we had a lineup, and so I just said, I'll find out. Second thing is, and then this goes back to what we talked about, the meeting on the 25th. Is that something we can discuss or not?
We can discuss that. We have at least one commissioner who probably will not be available on the last meeting of our month. We had discussed, because I think there may be two of you that may or may not be there. And because we want to have good attendance at every meeting, we discussed moving it back to Wednesday as opposed to Thursday. So, but you all would need to make a motion in that regard if you would choose to do so. So that we could have.
What time?
Thursday, it would be Wednesday, the 24th at 5:30 p.m.
Okay. Okay.
Is this a good time to tell you that my family goes on vacation?
Oh, yes, well then I think we
We almost have to.
We almost have to, yeah.
I don't want to.
We can Zoom too.
Actually, that was my other thing here. I believe Meredith had some information about meeting protocols with Zoom.
If you
You can't
Zoom,
vote.
right, my understanding is if you Zoom, you can't vote, you can listen and participate, but the emergency declaration is gone. So therefore, you know, the language is vague and we're gonna err on the side of caution because essentially it says you have to be present. And Zoom, you're not, you know, let's just not, let's not chance it, you know, yeah. If we were still under a state of emergency, yes, but we're no longer, so.
And it is, the next meeting will be as packed with agenda items as this meeting, so it is important to have.
So, Mr. Palmer, we be out that entire week.
Yeah, but I'll drive back.
If you have to.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Thursday night is really tough for me, just about impossible. Wednesday night is absolutely no problem for me. And I knew that the 25th had quite a bit of stuff going on, so.
And you're definite maybe?
I definitely won't be here for the 24th.
Okay, so then we have.
I think I'll be here.
We have four. We have three people vote.
I can come back, it's not, yeah, I don't mind driving, like, I want.
Yeah, I can tell you that.
But you can, if you just wait for me, okay?
Yeah. No, I mean, I can do it, but it's not a big deal.
So our next meeting is June sixth. So we would need to find a time if you wish to put it between
We can do a 24.
24.
Yeah.
Okay, so Otis is out, Michael.
I'm here on
He's
24.
there. Okay, so then Drew,
Annuals in up today.
you just put
They can vote,
so you just
yeah.
got 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah, if Andrew drives, because I would say he can't Zoom.
That's a lot of time.
But I mean, my thing was, I was concerned about a quorum on the 25th.
All right, well, we'll have three commissioners present.
That should be okay, right?
Okay.
I'm not gonna hold it, progress of this town on beach.
I'm on the list right there, my grandchildren.
So can we just do this with a simple motion?
Yeah.
Meredith, we have enough time to publish this satisfactorily so that to change it by 1 day.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah, we should go on. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we change the 25th of May meeting back 1 day to May the 24th, Wednesday evening at 5:30.
Thank you, Mr. Carson. Do I have a second, please?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Day. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
None opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to the, any more emergency. I'm sorry, I just. Somebody stepped on your toes there. Sorry.
No, you didn't, no, I mean, are there any more emerging issues that anyone would like to discuss?
Not today. Not today.
Okay.
How we coming on selling the fire truck?
We have, it did not sell, so we've got to, we put it on govdeals.com twice. And now I've got to run an ad in the newspaper to try to sell it. I don't feel like reposting it on GovDeals is gonna get it done. But I have had folks call me with interest, so we just need to find a different mechanism for
So can
advertising.
somebody in the public, general public,
Mhm.
come in?
Yep.
Okay, y'all. Did you talk about?
I've already got one, I bought the drive fire one.
Oh, that's a good point, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, I think the release on it was 18,000, that's a pretty big raffle. Auction. For a good cause.
No, no, should make.
Anything else for say? Yeah. Thank you very much. Next time, we have conduct a public hearing, so. Hearing on the annexation of partial ID 1400854 is now open. You can start off again.
Yeah, sorry, I just gotta get to it. I didn't pull it out. We, before you tonight, you have an annexation request for parcel ID 1400854. It is a little over 11 acres in the Highway 18 area, on the west side of Sparta Road between Dancy Street and Foster Road. They are requesting annexation. Bill Scantlin with the BTR Community Group and Barry Bush, and James Paul with Target Development have requested this annexation. We have been through the, process of assessing them for annexation. We have determined that we can provide them with water, we can provide them with sewer. We, it was a checklist of various services that essentially solidifying whether we could offer, the services that we include as a town. We feel like this is within the proper scope, and it is continued, the area that they're requesting for annexation is contiguous with our current line. Do you, I was gonna say, do you, Barry, yeah, I was gonna say, do you all have any words or any, things that you would like to say?
I do not. I think it's well laid out in your documentation.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how to keep my mouth shut, so, that property belongs to Jim Paul and myself, and Jim and his sister own the IGA, Spectrum, Walgreens, Dollar Tree Shopping Center, and we bought that land with the thoughts of maybe accommodating some tenants that had approached us that we couldn't accommodate across the street. And, but this opportunity to sell it to, these people came along, and it's a good use. These people, he is with a group that there's some common denominators of people that have been involved in each of these transactions, but one project they did was the Covington Way Apartments up behind Goodwill. The Mountain View Apartment project, which was behind my old office when I worked for J.C. Ball on the hill behind the Daisy, and it's access from Winkler Mill Road. And they did Sparta Springs in your town. And they're a class act, and they run a tight ship. So I had a friend of mine who was dating somebody who lived in one of those apartment projects, and he had to park at my office because if he parked his car overnight at his girlfriend's apartment, they would tow his car because he wasn't a resident. So they run a tight ship and they're a class act. So I just.
Thank you, Barry. And Meredith, going to say that this will definitely be used for a multifamily housing.
That is the proposed, so I will say the planning board last night approved a special density allocation to go up to, I don't remember the percentage off the top of my head, but 23. Yeah, 22% coverage, anything over 12% has to get allocation. We can pull the site plan if you'd like to see it. It is apartments. They do have a large buffer in the back as well as along the stream. 86 units, 84 was the proposed site plan.
Beautiful site plan, too, by the way, absolutely beautiful. Great landscaping, well laid out for the property.
Yes, and I will also note the planning board, we had just changed, on y'all's request to change to allow for multifamily in the highway business and general business district, which this is. And this is our second request for multifamily since doing so within this fiscal year. Yeah. So, yes.
Moreover, I'm sure you all have read the recent housing study that was released in our community that just talks about both the need and the impact that housing will create.
Anyone else? While the hearing's still open. This public hearing is now closed. I need a motion to approve or deny the annexation of this parcel.
Mr. Mayor, I will make a motion with leave to, that we accept the annexation request for parcel ID 854, which is 11.07 acres on Highway 18 on the west side of Sparta Road between Dancy Street and Forester Road and into the North Wilkesboro County.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Say aye. None opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Welcome to North Wilkesboro.
Thank you very much.
We, because of this extensive agenda, we do have a break built in for now. Paul, you want to start to be this one?
10 minutes.
We'll call it 6:35. Reconvene.
We do anything here?
I left all the.
It's selling. You brought the creamer down here. Oh, yeah, I brought the sugar. And the stirs.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good job.
Getting on right through him. Why? That's supposed to be green. No. That they're supposed to be.
Good job. I like it.
Oh, too. I just wish they didn't. It takes so long, but good for them. She's busy down there. Yes, sir. All at one time, like just spread out. Trying to stay on top of it.
You went from the fire brand to the fire in a hurry. I mean, I'm glad you're there.
If you're not gonna let something like that, and just go ahead and shoot yourself in both feet, be done with it.
There's another, I'll be right back.
Never met an engineer in my life yet, it's a made a mistake. I'm gonna give
Okay, let's see.
I've tried to pull up the app, but I can't ever remember what it is.
I'm over myself.
I don't know what that means.
Right.
Do yoga.
This thing barely touched that. What are you talking about?
Of course, exactly.
Get my coat and get out.
Hello? Hey, is that good now? Okay,
Say donuts.
okay, all right, thank you.
Anything on
Figured you were on some kind of exotic vacation. Oh, sorry. That's me.
Do you know how to make it so it's just? Screen and not
Can you show me how to do that?
in our middle speaker view?
Yeah, go to how,
Oh,
lock what onto us. How? Like this. You gotta get it back.
hang on, why is it? I don't know. I don't know.
View.
Thanks for that.
Here, stop the video real quick. Oh.
I stop it.
Need it to stop real quick. Let's see. We go.
Hang on, I'm gonna watch it. I'm sorry, I don't know.
Let me drop.
Yeah, I don't wanna mess it up. I need to water. I don't know.
I know, right? I know, I need like a
We do, for ADA compliance.
I couldn't hear a word that lady said. Reconvene, we'll roll on to M, proclamation honoring street designation for Warden Nichols. Ms. Davis?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
So the Art Gallery's Executive Director, Brooke Horn, approached staff. They are having a new exhibit opening on the 19th of this month, which is 2 weeks from Friday. Ward Nichols is the highlighted artist. It will feature other artists as well, but Ward is now in his 90s. I don't know his exact age, but he's in his 90s. And they are wanting to do something to honor him. He was inducted to the Wilkes County Hall of Fame in 2020, but we want to do something in the Art Gallery's hometown to honor him. So they have requested that we do a street naming for him. So we are thinking about C Street, the street in front of the Art Gallery from the CBD loop up to Kensington Avenue to not rename, but co-name as Ward Nichols Way. This would be similar to 9th Street, Memorial Avenue, where it would just be an additional name. It would not be a renaming and it would not change anybody's 911 address or mailing address. It's just an honorary thing for Ward. I know that I believe they have invited the mayor to present this proclamation at their opening exhibit on the 19th, and I'm sure you guys are all invited as well. I know there'll be some signage requests, so that'll be a discussion that we can have with the town manager, and I know there may be somebody who is potentially going to fund some signage for this. We would like to have some signs though in honor of that, especially there in front of the Art Gallery. But there is a proclamation included your agenda packets that I would ask that you guys will need to either take a vote to approve or deny. I don't believe Brooke is here. The
She is.
Brooke here, yay! So if she would like to come and speak and offer any information, she is here.
Ms. Horton, you have anything you want to add?
She's covered it. He's an incredible,
She's pretty good.
incredible individual. He was at the gallery today, just stopping in to see the exhibit. He asked all kinds of questions about the different artists that are exhibiting. He's just a very mindful individual. He loves Wilkes County. He has countless paintings, of just different scenes from around Wilkes County. He's basically telling the history of our county here. And this is not his native county, but it means the world to him. He has a lot of heart for Wilkes County, so I think he's very deserving of this.
Thank you, Ms. Horton. Anyone have any questions for Ms. Davis or Mrs. Horn? Any further discussion?
I'm really excited. And sure. I think it's a great idea. I really like it.
I do too. Do that and have they kind of sign design street?
So with regard to the signs, we've gotten quotes on new street signs, similar to the ones that we have on Memorial Avenue. And then we've also gotten a quote on banners, which we're hoping to print we're actually more than hoping, we're planning to print banners for C Street, which will actually have some of Ward's paintings on them. So that it can just illustrate his impact. Ward Nichols really has brought images of Wilkes County all over the world. And he is an impressive artist. He's won numerous awards, but in general, he puts Wilkes County on the map in a unique way. And I don't think that anybody in this, I don't know anybody who doesn't know Ward Nichols' name from that world.
Do we need a motion for this?
Yes, we do. Actually, we need a motion to accept the proclamation, please.
I would like to make a motion that we accept the proclamation 2023-01 honorary street designation for Ward Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Almer. Yes.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor, please raise your right hand. Unanimous vote carried. Thank you. Yes, name tags. Here's more t-shirts, regular name. That'll be good, you know. We need to call, schedule a public hearing for a reason. Item N, okay, item N, I'm gonna have to recuse myself. I have a family member who has a financial interest in that. And this Mayor Pro Tem Church will preside over item N, and also I need a motion to recuse the mayor for item N, please.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Parker. Thank you, Mr. Parsons. All those in favor? Motion carries. Oh, boy. Yeah. Let's reconvene. Okay. Item N, call for public hearing, rezoning request application of 100 Family Avenue from OI to Highway Business, Meredith.
Good evening. I'm putting on my planning director hat and I'm gonna talk to you about a rezoning request off of 100 Finley Avenue. This is the Elks Lodge property. We took this to planning board last night and they had a public hearing and approved it, and you all have their signed recommendation in front of you. This is a rezoning request from office and institution to highway business to allow for multifamily. This would be the second request I mentioned earlier, after the last presentation for the annexation we had. We've had some changes with who is going to actually purchase the land, hence the recusal. But I think Ms. Hauser has been looking at this property, Ms. Walker, and they are working with Scott May to put together a contract and get it executed. But for tonight's purposes, we needed to talk about the rezoning process and also call for a public hearing. So we'll scroll down a little bit for me. Thank you. Okay, so one of the things we have to do with a rezoning request is we have to make sure it is consistent with our comprehensive plan. And in this case, it actually shows it as commercial, which even though it's general commercial, it can still be argued. Highway general is very similar. with our uses. We also need to look at what's around it. We actually do have a good amount of high density residential. There's some apartments, there's also assisted living, and there's several duplexes along with single family all throughout that section of Finley Park. One thing we also want to look at is the biggest change between zoning districts. So we are going from an office institution, which allows for medical and offices, to highway business, which is our highest business classification, but with the close proximity to all the properties on Second Street, highway business was more consistent with essentially the land use in that region than general businesses. And then the last thing we want to do is, of course, make sure it's not spot zoning, which it's not, because as I mentioned, if you see, there's yellow all around it for highway business. So there's no spot zoning concerns with this property. The last thing we want to talk about also is if it will affect the properties in the vicinity. So yes, while rezoning it to highway business could be a big change if apartments don't get built, there are buffer requirements for any abutting properties. In this case, we have multiple streets that surround this property that gives a little bit of a distance. It is not within our corridor overlay, so there's not additional landscaping requirements. It's just our normal zoning ordinance for development on this. Like I mentioned, the planning board and staff are comfortable with approving this, and then we can also amend the comp plan to change the land use as needed if so needed. But for tonight, the only thing we need from you is a motion to call for the public hearing. It will be on May 24th instead of the 25th. And we will be advertising in the newspaper for 2 consecutive weeks and notifying all the adjacent property owners.
I need a motion. Mr. Mayor, from him, okay.
I second the motion.
Oh, we need to close the public hearing, sorry.
Okay.
No, there wasn't, this wasn't a.
No, no, sorry. Call for the public hearing when you do the motion, sorry. So when you make the motion, you'll call for the public hearing.
Yeah, which.
Oh, I'm sorry.
All in favor, say aye.
Okay.
So we're gonna have a public hearing on May the 24th, rezoning 100 Finley Avenue.
Yes, thank you.
Now I make a motion to remove me from mayor pro tem and return the mayor to the. Bring the cowboy back in. We each. I don't know, yeah. Public hearing on the proposed text amendment, and that would be, Ms. Hall. Call for it. We're gonna hear from, Mrs. Stats first.
Okay, good evening again. The applicant Kenneth is here if you guys have any specific questions on the property, but essentially what's happening is our accessory dwelling unit ordinance, whether it's attached or detached, currently regulates meters. So your water meter, your power meter, that's really more of a building code issue as well as a minimum housing issue than it should be zoning. He has run into this with his property at 713 Kensington because there are 2 units. It's not a duplex because duplex have to have certain requirements. But what we're looking at is it's attached accessory dwelling unit. So look, think of it as like a mother-in-law suite or a basement apartment. And 2 families would live there. And we want to not have any kind of regulation on the meters and the location and how they are regulated through zoning. This is also going to open up the opportunity for more housing in our area because that has been restrictive on, having more than 1 unit in a house. Now, I know that concern of, chopping up houses, but that's not the situation. This is for like basement apartments or fully separated units.
But that would still give them room to chop up a house and make a parking lot.
Well, if you do an accessory attached or detached, it has to be, separate from the main dwelling unit. We don't have a regulation on size unless it's detached, but you do, the best examples are basement apartments is what I've seen in this region.
This is right behind the post office.
Yes. It was a duplex for, I believe, many, many years. It sat vacant for, I think, 2 or 3 years. It's been a minimum housing. The Umanas have purchased it. They are remodeling it and renovating it.
Barry, how did the planning board vote on this?
They approved it. And that, has also been distributed to you all. That was last
Well,
week.
you said that, but where was that distributed to us?
It's in your.
And we gave you a lot of.
Yeah, you are.
Yes, but it is in there. We gave you, because it, the way things lined up.
It was hidden in this.
Yes.
Yeah.
We have a lot of planning board. That's okay.
Looks like a hand sign. Good stuff.
It is. Hard thinking.
All right.
Yeah. And so for tonight, you would only have to call for a public hearing on the 24th.
Please. Better motion, I'm gonna yield to Joe, go ahead and do that.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we call for a public hearing on the 24th of May for a zoning ordinance text amendment to permit 2 separate meters to 2 separate dwelling units for accessory dwelling unit requirements.
Thank you very much, Mr. Parsons. Have a second, please.
I second.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer and Mr. Triplett. All in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you.
Thanks for coming, Mr. Alana.
Thank you. You can say if you like, whatever you want to do. Okay, item B, call for a public hearing, decriminalization in town code. I'm going to read all through all that, but once again, we're here for Mrs. Datch.
Yes. So, essentially what happened in 2021, I'm a little behind the game on this, but essentially what happened was the general statutes no longer would allow any development ordinance to be criminally prosecuted. Now, the town has never criminally prosecuted to my knowledge in our history. It is one of those additional tools in our tool belt that was removed. But we spent many months with the previous police chief as well as the previous town manager and our code enforcement going through all of our ordinances. However, I was on maternity leave when this happened and then it got kind of put to the bottom. So this is technically just an ordinance cleanup. Like I said, we have not been enforcing them, but I needed to still go through the avenue of changing our ordinances to be in compliance with the current general statutes. Unfortunately, we would have to have 4 public hearings because they're all 4 development ordinances. So that is your subdivision ordinance, your zoning ordinance, your wireless communications ordinance, as well as the buildings ordinance. Now, buildings ordinance, they're still allowed to be criminally prosecuted for unsafe buildings, as well as, I think there's some other things with the state building code that Kurt could speak to much better than myself. But essentially what we are looking for tonight is to do a housekeeping item, clean up, call for these 4 public hearings, and get our ordinances in compliance. Now, you all did this for the rest of the town code, so we did not do it for development ordinances.
Thank you, Mrs. Datch. Any questions? Hearing none, we have 4 motions.
I'll begin the first one.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Number 1, we call for a public hearing on text amendment on the zoning ordinance on May 25th, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Second, please. Second. Thank you, Mr. Parsons. All those in favor, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carries. Thank you. Here's Mr. Will continue. You right on. Yeah, let her do well.
So, and I'm on the 24th. Call for a public hearing on text amendment to the wireless communication ordinance on May 25th, 24th, 2023.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Second, please. Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor, raise your right hand, say aye. Aye. Unanimous, motion carries. Please continue, Ms. Day.
Okay. Call for a public hearing on the text amendment to the town code, chapter 5, buildings on May 25th, 24th, 2023. I really want it to be that day.
Thank you, Ms. Day. Second, please. Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor, raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Motion carries. Number 4.
I'm gonna do this right. I've been catching the 25 in there on the line. Call the public hearing Call for a public hearing on text amendment to the town code, chapter 16, subdivision on May 25th, 2023.
Thank you, Mr. Yeah, he got a second. Second. Thank you, Mr. Bartholomew. Unanimous motion carries. Thank you very much.
What can I say?
Here you
I have some
go.
personality.
That's okay.
It's great enthusiasm.
Thank you. Now, we done supervisor, Ms. Benton.
So, as per the proposed budget for the coming fiscal year, there's a recommendation to move the Green Thumb Department under the supervision of the North Wilkesboro Parks and Recreation Department. This restructuring necessitates an extra layer of oversight, hence the creation of the Green Thumb Supervisor. I just wanted to get ahead of July 1 and hopefully, this won't be, for naught. And create a Green Thumb Supervisor position. The job description, which you all have in front of you, describes the role, the duties and responsibilities, the physical requirements, and the desirable education, knowledge, and any special requirements. If you all have any questions, or revisions or suggestions to this job description as written, I would love to hear them.
I mean, the town like cleaner and neater.
I hope so. I am very hopeful that that the restructuring will improve the quality of our greens and also save us money. Once we get, I feel like it'll probably take us about a year to work the kinks out, but hopefully at some point we will contract less and do more in-house.
Yeah, we do want to hold it to our standard.
Yeah.
I've been talking about that for 3 years, something about it.
I'm very hopeful.
We have good looking grass.
If you got a direct supervisor, it gives you more follow-up, and improve the communication, should help morale also.
I think it will.
But no further questions or discussion, hearing none, need a motion, Mr.
I'll make it. Let's make a motion to approve the job description and or recommended revisions.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. Have a second, please.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Church. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye.
Aye.
This motion carries. Thank you. Now we move ahead to item R. We're going to tweak some job description. Mrs. Benton, yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
So, you will find in the handouts that were separate in your packets, there is the town clerk job description. It's needed some tweaks and updates, for a while. The current job description describes collecting utility bills and taxes, and our town clerk has not done this since our town clerk was Kay, who we all, I'm sure somebody's gonna say something nice about Kay.
Yeah.
Because I don't think anybody, we just need to amend, to remove the collects utility bills, building inspection. And then there's a portion on here about preparing reports on gas distribution charges, which also the town clerk is no longer responsible for. It's really just a housekeeping measure.
Any questions for us, ma'am? Hearing none, I need a motion to accept the changes in the job description for town clerk.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Palmer. A second, please. Thank you, Ms. Day. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Aye. Unanimous, motion carries. Thank you. And the final item tonight is item S, Ms. Lee. You on that?
Item S is merit.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, you're good.
So, again, last night, planning board, we've had 2 openings on our board, one is sitting beside me. But essentially, we got an in-town as well as an ETJ representation we needed, and those are both, recommended by the planning board last night. I included both for you to look at. John Harwell was the in-town, and then, Jim Murphy, he was here earlier, was the ETJ, and that position goes straight to the county commissioners, but I felt y'all should at least see that position as well.
Any questions for Ms. Fetch or,
Okay, good.
any comments?
No, I agree with Bert, John Harwell is outstanding.
Absolutely, I agree with John Harlow as well.
Well, all right, that is your way.
Which we accepted.
Thank you, Mr. Church. A second, please. Thank you, Mr. Hall. Those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Unanimous, vote aye. Thank you very much. Okay. Still on the throttle here, so there's no closed session. Does anyone have anything else? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion with adjourn.
I would say, take a second, please. Second, Mr. Hall. All those in favor, please raise your right hand and say aye. Thanks for coming. Here for one more.
Good job.